Well, hello, hello. Thanks for showing up today and being here. We are going to get started. How's your day going? It is Tuesday, and typically I go live on another day, but I'm going to start doing Tuesdays and see how that works. Tuesday at 5 o'clock Eastern Time, which is 4 o'clock my time, 3 o'clock Mountain, 2 o'clock as it goes on down. Go ahead and say hello, put your comment in and tell me where you are actually from. I am glad you are here today. We are going to, I'm going to share with you a fun, quick project, something that I think would be easy for you to do. This may be geared towards a beginner, but I think if you're advanced or you've had a lot of experience with this, you can just take it to this, take it to the sky and do all kinds of things with it. It's going to be a fun little card. And I'm going to walk you through it here. And I'm going to do a little mixed media added to it rather than we're starting out with watercolor. So if you have some watercolor paper and your watercolor's close by, then you'll maybe if you use gesso and you're familiar with gesso, grab that also, because we'll be using that with a template. I'm going to use this little template that I have, but any template will work. I like circles and it just kind of adds something fun to it. Tell me how you're doing. I'd love to be able to visit and see how everything's going. I am Cathy Freeman with Cathy Freeman Art, and we are here today. So on Tuesday afternoon, just waiting for a few to say hello and tell me how their day's going and what's up with them. We are out here. I've actually got my studio out here at a little farmhouse, and I've put together a space that I can work in and not be interrupted by anybody, which is super important when you're trying to create. What kind of space do you have? Any kind of space will work. Having it organized and having your supplies accessible to you is probably the most important thing of all. More important than anything is to have your supplies so that you can get to them and have access to them easily. Well, hello. Let me go ahead and get started with this project. And I'm going to turn this camera down so that you can see. Here I've got my watercolor paper. It's a small 4x6. And typically I will go around all four edges, but I decided today just to go ahead and do two of them just to hold it down. I do like to go around the four edges though, because it will give some kind of a neat little border to it and give it that finishing look. But we're going to be very free flowing today. So we're going to start first. I've got my watercolors and I just want to wet the surface here. Put some water down and get that surface nice and wet because I'm going to work on the background. And I'm using a fairly large brush, round tip brush. And I know this looks yellow, but it's actually a lime green, a yellow green, you might say also. And just plop down that color, put it in several spots. Then I want to go ahead and I'll clean out my brush here, and I'm going to add a really pretty blue that I have here. I love this blue. And when you mix it in with the greens, it creates a beautiful turquoise. I personally like to use more of the avocado green rather than this, but I wanted that lighter color. I wanted it to have more of a yellow look to it. And as it dries and they blend together, they really mix well together. How many of you enjoy watercoloring? And if you don't, put down here, I really don't. Let me know. Let's talk about it. Do you like to watercoloring? For me, I'm not really a I consider myself a watercolor professional. I just like to play in it. I know enough to be dangerous with it, but I really love to just play, and it's very relaxing to me. So if I just want to take some time to do something that's relaxing, I typically will grab my watercolors. Part of that might also be because the cleanup is so easy. This palette I have is a very small palette. I take it everywhere I go. See, you can see how I'm starting to get that really pretty turquoise in it as it's starting to, I turned down my, so you can't hear my dryer here. This is a heat gun, and you have to be careful when you use a heat gun. You can't leave it in one spot too long. Um, I've done that before in the past and learned my lesson. One thing I do love about watercolor is how it will create these layers on top of each other. So once it's dry, I could go back and do another layer on top of that if I want to, but we're going to, just because this is a fun, quick project, we're going to just call this background done once it's dried. And then we'll start in, and I want to start creating these watercolor flowers. I'm kind of turning it around and around because I'm trying to decide. I was thinking about I might put a little saying with this. Not sure yet. Let's go ahead. I've got a smaller brush. It's not teeny tiny, but it is one of my smaller round tips. And you go ahead, and what you do is I'm using the fuchsia color and create 5 little dots. Just put down 5 little dots. Then wet your brush. Go ahead and kind of clean it out, because we're going to, with a wet brush, grab some yellow, and watch. I'm going to just start pulling out the petals. Make sure you have enough, though. I can tell here I don't have enough on my. You want it to be able to. My goal is it's going to bleed out into the petal a little bit. So the yellow I'm using is a very warm yellow. You just start pulling that out. And with that, enough water on your brush, you could use a larger brush, more of a medium size than this smaller. But this is nice because this is such a small piece of paper, a small, it's only a 4x6. And so it makes it easier for me to have a little more control of what I'm doing. Just watch as we work here, you'll start to see. I'm going to pull back and take some of this color back off. And that's the fun thing, the beauty about watercolor. Well, you could do this also with acrylics, but a little bit different. You have to do it a little differently. But this one, if you take and dry your brush, if you're not familiar with watercolors, dry your brush. And I'm cleaning it out as I'm doing this, but dry it and then just pull the color back. And it really makes it translucent so you can see the underneath a lot more peeping through. Once again, 5 dots of the fuchsia is what I'm doing here. And let's experiment. Let's put down 2 at the same time and see if it still works as well as if I just did it immediately. So I'm going to go back to this one now and see if I get that same kind of a flow effect. And I do. I get a really beautiful, so it doesn't really matter. Isn't this awesome how this is working out? I've got yellow on my brush, and the brush is wet, quite wet, with some yellow watercolor. And as I hit that fuchsia, and I'm able to just pull it down, and then I'm going to go back in and repeat the same thing where I'll clean my brush and that, and then I'll pull it back off. But I'm going to move over to this one. You can add a little water to it also, I think. Let's just experiment and try. See what happens. I've got several that are here with me. Say hello and let me know where you're from. I'm really glad you're here. And tell me, how familiar do you like to use watercolor? Is watercolor one of your preferred mediums or not? Well, this one, as I'm doing this one, the red, I've noticed here, I've got it disappeared a lot more. Go back and pull off some of this water and remove. It'll give that really beautiful watercolor effect, layering, being able to see through. I think one of my favorite things to do is flowers. When I'm just playing around or doing something, I just love to do flowers. What is your favorite thing? What do you prefer? I think this would be good to put one right here. What do you say? Should we put one right here? I'm going to make these dots kind of small. Yes. Thanks, Rebecca, for the comment. Yes. There is something, I don't know. What is it about flowers? What is it that we love to do flowers? I don't know. Flowers and leaves, any kind of foliage, plants or something. It's just so magical. Is anybody painting along with me or just watching? This is a fast little project we're doing here. Just try some tiny, well, I would like to get, I've got 4 flowers here. I'd like to get about 7 on here. So I'm going to try to squish them together a little bit. Let's try again. Let's put 2 down at the same time. Grab that yellow wet brush. I think this would make a darling card to just, how's your day? Wishing you a happy day. Thinking of you, something, I don't know, a cute little saying on it or something. I think this would make a darling card to stick in the mail and give to somebody. I think we all love to get happy mail, don't we? Something to balance out all those bills that come. I'm the one that opens all the mail in my household. It will sit on the counter until I open it up. And you realize that my children are grown. So it's my husband and and I have one son who's needs to live with us. And so I'm the one that opens the mail. Ooh, look how this is kind of blending out. Isn't that fun? Let's go ahead and lift this up now. You just pull that back. Pull it back. I don't want to remove all of it. I just want to get mostly at the tip. I don't know if you heard that big bang. My husband found a rescue dog. Oh, he is a lover of animals, and I've always liked dogs, but I tend to like them outside, and we've got a German Shepherd that he's had for a very long time that's getting very old. And this one I can't remember. It's a large dog though. It's going to be a large dog, and he loves this dog. But I just heard a bang in the other room as I'm sitting here painting this, and makes me a little nervous. Makes me a little nervous, ladies. All right, look at that. I always go for the odd numbers, Want there's something that's more pleasing about uneven numbers. So let's stick one more right here, okay? Let's put down these fuchsia dots for those that have just joined me. Say hello. Tell me where you're from. This is fuchsia, the color I'm using, in case the internet's not sharing it as well. And I'm grabbing some, after I've cleaned out my brush here, I'm grabbing some yellow. It's a warm yellow. And just pulling out a real simple petal. Let's see, what else do I need to do with this? Let's just dry it right now. I've pulled the color back on pretty much all of these, except for that last one here. I want to keep it so that it's a little more vibrant and give some variety to it so they all don't look exactly alike. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I've removed that. I don't like the sound of having you listen to the dryer, so I just took off that. Let's pull this off. Oh, I love this. I think this has turned out really cute. I love this. So easy, so fun. Now, if your paper starts to bend a lot when you get through, then just add a little water to the back and dry it in the back. I think let's try something. I'm going to add the gesso. I wanted to experiment with this and see what this will look like. I think it'll be, I had tried a sample the other day and I liked what it looked like. And so I'm going to play with this. Now the gesso I'm using has been sitting in this jar for a little while, so it's pretty thick. You can't see it super well, but it's a nice thick consistency. And I'm just going to hit a few of these little dots and let's see what it looks like. You could use modeling paste. Many times I use modeling paste, but I just happened to have my gesso close by and I thought I'm going to try it with that and see how that works out. And plus, gesso is something that most all of you will have. The modeling paste, you may not have that. I do love to use modeling paste though on my projects if I'm wanting to get some texture and add that that three-dimensional look to it. Let's see. I don't really want to cover too much of the flowers, so I'm going to try carefully to get here in between. Let's see if I can. I'm okay if it. Oh, I love that. Maybe just a little more here. This is fun to do at this use as. The key is not to overdo it, isn't it? It's to give it just enough, but not overdo it so that it kind of loses its impact. If you add too much, then it starts to lose its impact and it's not as interesting as if you have just the right amount, just a little bit. A little bit of something goes a long ways. Okay, I like that. I really like to put a little more at the top here. I'm not sure if I can do that and not mess it up. I think there's also something that's kind of fascinating about having it come off the page. That's a little unexpected, you know. This is just bugging me a little bit. I would like to have a few more up here, but I really don't want to mess it up. Let's dry this here in just a second. I think this will work. What do you think? Do you like the dots on it, or would you have left them off? Personal preference. I do love it. I love how this turned out. I really do. And I like the dots. I think that adds quite a bit to it. What do you think? Do you like the dots? Would you put dots on yours? Will you put dots on yours? All right. This has been a fun live, being able to share this project with you. And I'll show back up again next Tuesday about the same time, and we can create something else again. Thank you so much for being here. And I hope that if nothing else, this has inspired you to get your watercolors out, or whatever you like to use. Maybe you prefer to use pencil, acrylic. That's one wonderful thing about mixed media is it encompasses so many different products and that you can use. All right, my friend, thank you for coming. I am Cathy Freeman with Cathy Freeman Art. You can find me at cathyfreemanart.com. Pop up here again, and I hope you'll watch this replay and have a great afternoon.